We are now in those 9 days of Av, the time when the Jewish calendar is dedicated to holding the memory of the destruction of the temple, when nearly 1 million Jews were killed or died of starvation, and most of the rest were sent into exile. Our rabbis grappled for centuries, and still to this day grapple, with the question of how a loving God could have allowed innocents to suffer. The answer they came to then was that we weren't so innocent after all. The rabbis struggled to understand how could God allow the temple in Jerusalem to be destroyed when it was the very seat of our devotion, the very place where heaven and earth were chained together. And the answer they come to then was that perhaps we weren't so devoted after all. And maybe the chains were weakened and corroded, and links were missing, and no one but the prophet Jeremiah seemed to notice or care. These 9 days leading up to Tisha B'Av became days not only of national mourning, but also a time of self-reflection. Galut, exile, homelessness, is wrapped up with self-perception. Our sages teach that we learn this first from the spies, those 10 scouts who saw themselves as grasshoppers and thought they couldn't enter the land with success, even though God was with them. What also comes to mind is a Hasidic interpretation given by the Ishbitzer Rabbi, who says that when the brothers of Joseph went and stood before second in command to Pharaoh, they thought he was the Egyptian prime minister, Safnut Panea. But then he revealed himself. He showed himself to be their brother, Yosef, and everything changed for them. The Ishbitzer writes that nothing really changed, of course. The same person was still standing there in front of them before and after his revelation. The only thing that changed was their perception. This teaching strikes at the heart of how we can understand Galut, how we can understand the experience of exile. It's much less a matter of geography and much more a matter of self-perception. How do we choose to see our reality can in fact change our reality? Today we might ask, am I isolated or am I safe and protecting myself from potential risk? We might ask, am I exposed and vulnerable, or am I among the luckiest people on the planet because I have the privilege to self-isolate and the gift of affordable healthcare? Today we might ask, am I lonely, or am I still able to reach out to others, to connect with long ago friends, with loved ones, with neighbors who are in need? Today we might ask, am I bored and dispirited? Or am I free to take up the next challenge, the next skill, the next worthy cause? Today we might ask, am I lacking? Do I feel myself empty-handed? Or do I have all that I really need? And therefore, am I filled with gratitude? The biblical book of Lamentations, which we will read this Thursday on Tisha B'Av, describes Jerusalem as a woman who is unprotected and exposed and vulnerable. During these days of pandemic, each one of us feels somehow, to some degree, exposed and vulnerable because of an enemy virus we cannot see. The prayer book invites us to see ourselves as worthy of God's protection. Kulam ahuvim, Kulam brurim, kulam giburim. Consider all of us, God, to be loving, all of us to be pure intentioned, all of us as courageous. And even though we are not yet those things, can the self-perception shift so that we can see our potential to be those things? Kulam ahuvim, kulam brurim, kulam giborim. And then the prayer book continues by calling on the God of Israel that we should be surrounded on all sides by the protecting angels. May the angel Michael be at my right. That's the one who asks questions, hard questions, the one who is curious and open to receiving multiple answers when they do come. And the angel Gabriel, may he be at my left. That is the one who is courageous, who boldly protects and bravely stands watch for any harm that may be lurking on some surface or even hovering in the air. And in front of me, let there be the angel Uriel, the one who sheds light so that there can be chazon, there can be vision, so we can see our way to possibility, so we can take up the path, the illuminated path to imagine how we might live more fully and Jewishly, even with some real limitations. And behind me, let there be the angel Raphael, the one who has our backs, the one who protects us from harm, the one who has the ability to bring healing. And above our heads, let there be none other than the Shekhinah, the divine presence of God on high, the God of all lands, the God of all peoples, the one whose presence can retreat and recoil, and the one that can draw closer and nearer, whose presence can be felt, whose presence can be absent, whose presence can be known or unknown, revealed or hidden, whose presence can be diminished or magnified, forgotten or sanctified. These are our prayers on this Shabbat Chazon, this Shabbat of vision. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.